I came home earlier than expected and found my mom's best friend in my bed. The sky above the orbital station was a pale, washed-out blue, speckled with the dim gleam of distant satellites, and the hum of machinery filled the corridors. For months, he had been working on a delicate engineering contract, repairing the station's quantum communication arrays. But today was different. Something inside him had told him to return home earlier than planned. Maybe it was the weather reports, or maybe it was a sudden craving for his mother's cooking, which he had not tasted in months. Whatever the reason, Marcus had made a decision he would not undo. When the shuttle finally docked on Earth, he felt a strange thrill. The familiar greenery, the smells of wet soil and fresh air, the way sunlight bounced off the city buildings, it all hit him like a wave of nostalgia. He had left in a hurry, almost 2 months ago, and now the streets felt like an old photograph brought to life. The cab ride to his childhood home seemed shorter than he remembered, almost as if the city itself had leaned forward to welcome him back. He arrived at the familiar brick house on the quiet suburban street. It had not changed. The small garden still held his mother's favorite flowers, bright yellows and deep purples dancing in the gentle breeze. The wooden door creaked slightly as he opened it, a sound that brought back memories of countless childhood mornings. He dropped his bag near the entrance, intending only to freshen up before checking in with his mother. But as he walked through the hallway, he noticed something unusual. His bedroom door was slightly ajar. That alone wouldn't have caused concern. His mother sometimes cleaned his room in his absence, but what he saw next made his stomach tighten. There, lying in the middle of his bed, was Dr. Elaine Carter. Elaine was his mother's best friend, a brilliant woman who had traveled the world studying alien languages and human-alien communication. Marcus had known her since he was a child. She had always been cheerful, sometimes a little mysterious, but always kind. Seeing her lying there, eyes closed, surrounded by strange devices that glowed softly with shifting lights, made Marcus freeze. "Dr. Carter," he said cautiously, stepping closer. His voice sounded small in the otherwise quiet house. Elaine's eyes fluttered open and she sat up quickly, a faint blush crossing her face. "Marcus," she exclaimed, you came back early." I did," he replied, still staring at the assortment of gadgets on his bed. "But what are you doing here?" Elaine looked around as if trying to find the right words. "It's complicated. I didn't expect you to come back today." She paused, then gestured to the bed. This isn't exactly a normal bed anymore." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "It looks like a bed to me." Elaine smiled faintly. "It does, doesn't it? But it's actually a temporary interface platform." Marcus frowned. "Interface platform?" Elaine leaned forward, her hands brushing over a smooth, glowing panel that had appeared where his blanket should have been. "It's a system designed to communicate with other forms of intelligence. Not humans, not yet, but it can connect to anything, any species that is willing to respond. And it chose this location, your room." Marcus blinked. "My room?" Elaine nodded. "Yes. There's something unique about this space, something resonant. Your presence here matters, it always has." He swallowed hard, trying to digest the words. "You mean aliens like First Contact?" Elaine's eyes sparkled. "Yes, exactly that. You just happened to come home at the right time. That timing, it's critical." Marcus took a cautious step closer, scanning the glowing patterns on the bed. The shapes shifted and pulsed with light, almost like they were alive. "Why my bed? Why here?" Elaine looked at him seriously. "Because humans have a way of interacting with the unknown that no other species can. We've been observing, preparing, and waiting. But the system, this platform, only responds when a human arrives without being asked. You came home early, Marcus. That's why it activated." Marcus felt a mixture of fear, wonder, and excitement. His mind raced. For years, he had dreamed of exploring the stars, of seeing the universe in ways few humans could. And now, standing in his childhood bedroom, he realized that dream had arrived in the most unexpected form. "What happens if I touch it?" he asked, hesitantly moving his hand toward the glowing panel. Elaine shook her head. "You don't touch it like a button. You engage with it. Let it sense your presence. Speak, think, feel." Humans have a unique ability to project thought in ways that machines and even other species cannot interpret easily. That's why the system chose this room, and why it chose you. Marcus swallowed again. His mind raced, trying to find the right approach. He had spent years solving complex engineering problems on orbital stations, repairing equipment that even the most advanced AI struggled with. But this was something entirely different. He took a deep breath, centering himself. Slowly, he sat on the edge of the bed, careful not to disturb the delicate, humming interface. The lights shifted, recognizing his presence, forming patterns that were both mesmerizing and confusing. It was like staring into a living constellation, each pulse a language he didn't yet understand. Elaine watched him closely. "It will respond to you," she said softly. "Just be yourself. Don't overthink it. Humanity's strength isn't perfection, it's adaptability." Marcus nodded. He closed his eyes, letting his thoughts drift. Memories of childhood, of learning and exploring, of every challenge he had faced and overcome, flowed through him. Slowly, the patterns on the bed began to stabilize, forming shapes that seemed almost like words or music. He opened his eyes and gasped. Small, holographic images appeared above the bed. They were not earthly, not human, but they felt friendly, curious, almost playful. Marcus realized these were the first attempts of another intelligence trying to communicate. "Elaine," he whispered, it's trying to talk to me." Elaine smiled, a mix of pride and awe on her face. "Yes, and you are listening, that's all that matters." Marcus leaned back, feeling the weight of the moment. For years, humans had been waiting, hoping to make contact with other intelligences in the universe. And now, standing in his childhood bedroom, he understood why humans had been chosen for this role. Not because they were the strongest or the smartest, but because they were endlessly curious, endlessly adaptable, and endlessly courageous when faced with the unknown. For the first time, he felt a profound connection, not just to the universe, but to humanity itself. He realized that every small choice he had made, every moment of curiosity and bravery had led him to this point. And now, he was standing at the very edge of something extraordinary. The interface pulsed once, then twice. Then it spoke not in words but in a pattern of lights and feelings that Marcus somehow understood. It was a greeting, a welcome, an invitation. Elaine's voice broke the silence. "This is just the beginning, Marcus. You came home early and it found you. But this is the start of humanity's journey with the stars." Marcus nodded, a mixture of awe and excitement washing over him. For the first time, he truly understood what it meant to be human, to adapt, to face the unknown, to be ready not just for survival, but for connection, for discovery, for wonder. And as the lights continued to dance above his bed, he knew that nothing in his life would ever be the same again. Marcus sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the faintly glowing patterns that still floated above the interface. His mind was racing, trying to understand what he had just experienced. A wave of questions pressed against him like a storm. How had this system chosen his room? Why him out of all humans? And most importantly, what did it want from him now? Elaine Carter, sitting cross-legged nearby, seemed calm, almost serene, though Marcus knew her work had always put her in extraordinary situations. She brushed a strand of hair from her face and looked at him with a knowing expression. "You have a lot of questions," she said. Yes," Marcus admitted. "Where did this come from? My bed, this room, it's just a regular room, or at least it was." Elaine chuckled softly. "That's the trick, Marcus. Most humans wouldn't notice anything unusual about this place. But the system, the interface, doesn't respond to machines, it responds to life. It responds to human presence, thought, and curiosity. That's why it's here. That's why it's you. Marcus leaned back, trying to take it all in. So, aliens are contacting us. Through my bed. Through me? Elaine nodded. Yes, but it's more than that. This interface is part of a network that has been quietly observing Earth for decades. And you, Marcus, are standing on a spot that is unique. Unique how? He asked. Resonant, Elaine said simply. Your room sits above a convergence point, a neural resonance point. Certain humans, at certain times, produce the kind of presence that can activate this system. Most humans pass by without ever realizing it exists. But you came home early. You weren't supposed to be here yet, and that was the key, Marcus frowned. I don't understand. Why would coming home early matter? Elaine leaned forward, resting her hands on the bed's edge. Timing is everything. The system, the alien network, requires an opening. They wait for humans who act without being told, humans who take initiative. You came home early and you activated it. That's why you are the first point of contact today. Marcus's mind reeled. So, humans are special. That's incredible. Elaine smiled. In a way, yes. But not for the reasons you might think. It's not strength. It's not technology. It's adaptability. Humans are flexible, creative, curious. You improvise, you take risks, and you think differently than any other species the system has observed. That's what makes you suitable. Marcus shook his head in disbelief. I never thought of it that way. I just came home early because I missed my mom. Elaine's eyes twinkled. And that, Marcus, is exactly why it worked. Humans act out of emotion, out of instinct, out of choice. You didn't plan this. You didn't calculate odds or probabilities. You just acted, and that made you perfect for this moment. He looked down at the glowing patterns above the bed. They pulsed softly now, almost like they were breathing. Shapes formed and dissolved, hints of geometric symbols, colors he couldn't name. He could feel something trying to communicate, though he had no idea how. Do you understand what they're saying? He asked. Elaine shook her head. Not fully. The system communicates on multiple levels: visual, emotional, even cognitive. You'll pick up pieces, understand fragments, but full comprehension that takes time and experience. You are part of the learning process, Marcus. Marcus exhaled slowly. Learning process. So they're studying us. Not studying in the way you think, Elaine explained. They are observing, yes, but they are also testing. They want to know if humans can connect, if humans can adapt, if humans can respond without instructions. You see, other species often need strict guidance, protocols, rules. Humans don't. Humans figure things out as they go. That is rare. That is valuable. Marcus felt a surge of pride. Not the kind he had ever sought before, no medals, no recognition from his engineering teams, but something deeper, something innate. So, what do I do? He asked. Do I answer them, talk back? Elaine shook her head again. You don't answer like a normal conversation. You interact, you feel, you think, you project. Humans have the ability to project thought, intent, emotion. And this system is designed to pick up on that. Let it sense you. Let it know you are here. Let it know you are human. Marcus hesitated. He had spent years working with machines, satellites, and AI systems, repairing their circuits and solving problems. But nothing in his training had prepared him for this. Nothing had trained him to communicate with another intelligence, one that spoke without words, without sound, without anything familiar. He took a deep breath. He thought about home, about his childhood, about the summers spent playing in this very room. He thought about his mother, about her wisdom, her laughter, and her love for exploration. He thought about the engineers he had worked with in orbit, the stations they had built, the systems they had maintained. Slowly, he let these thoughts flow outward, letting them fill the space above the bed. And then he felt it, a gentle pull, almost like a tug at the edge of his mind. The shapes above the bed shifted, formed patterns that seemed to respond to his thoughts. Colors deepened. Lines straightened, fractals unfolded. It was as if the system was learning him, sensing him, acknowledging him. Elaine watched him closely, her expression a mixture of awe and quiet satisfaction. "See," she said softly, "it is responding. You are engaging." Marcus's heart pounded in his chest. He had never felt anything like this. It was exhilarating, terrifying, and beautiful all at once. He realized that for the first time in his life, he was not just an observer of technology. He was part of it, part of a living, thinking system that bridged worlds. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Time felt different in this room. When he finally opened his eyes fully, he noticed new images forming above the bed. They were no longer abstract. Small, luminous shapes floated in patterns that suggested intent, curiosity, and even playfulness. Marcus could feel a sense of greeting, a recognition that he was no longer alone. Elaine spoke quietly. "They recognize you, Marcus. They sense your humanity, and that matters more than you realize. Your presence here is proof that humans can connect, that humans can participate, that we are ready." Marcus leaned back, absorbing her words. He felt the weight of the moment. For decades, humans had looked to the stars with wonder, hoping for first contact. And here it was, not in a dramatic explosion, not in a battle or a threat, but quietly in his childhood bedroom, through a system that responded to the essence of being human. He felt a sudden rush of questions. "Elaine, what happens next? Do they talk to us? Do we talk back? Do we understand them?" Elaine smiled faintly. "That is the next step, Marcus. But first, you must understand something important. This is not just about technology. This is about humans themselves. The universe is watching, and it wants to see what makes us unique. Our curiosity, our empathy, our courage. The ability to face the unknown without complete understanding. That is what will define our role in what comes next." Marcus nodded slowly. He looked around his room, familiar, yet now transformed. Every poster on the wall, every object on his desk, every corner of this room felt alive in a way he had never noticed before. It was still his room, but it was more than that now. It was a gateway, a bridge between worlds. He focused again on the patterns above the bed, letting his thoughts, his memories, his humanity flow outward. He felt the system respond, subtle at first, then stronger. A pulse, a rhythm, a recognition. It was not just technology, it was life. It was intelligence reaching out. And somehow Marcus understood this was not a test. It was an invitation for humans to step forward, to engage, to participate in something far larger than themselves. Elaine stood and approached him, placing a hand gently on his shoulder. "Marcus, you did this. You activated the connection simply by being yourself. You didn't overthink it, you didn't force it, you just acted. That is what makes humanity special. That is what they are seeing. That is why you are here." Marcus swallowed, feeling a mix of awe, pride, and anticipation. For the first time in his life, he understood the truth of what Elaine had always believed. Humanity's greatest strength was not its technology, not its weapons, not its power. It was its adaptability, its courage, its willingness to face the unknown. He leaned back on the bed, letting the patterns swirl above him, letting the system sense him, learn him, and acknowledge him. And as he did, he realized that everything had changed. He was no longer just Marcus Hale, engineer, son, human. He was part of something greater. Something that would shape the future, not just for him, but for all of humanity. And in that moment, Marcus understood a truth he would carry forever. The universe did not choose humans for their strength. It chose them for their heart, their curiosity, and their courage. The interface pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. It was a signal, a recognition, a greeting. Marcus smiled, feeling the weight of the moment, the significance of his role. He had come home early, and in doing so, he had taken the first step into a new chapter of human history. Elaine Carter, standing beside the bed, watched silently. She had spent decades studying alien languages and contact protocols, yet even she seemed humbled by the scale of what Marcus was experiencing. They are curious about you, Marcus, she said softly. About humans, too, and that curiosity is rare. Marcus exhaled slowly. I've been thinking, he began. If this system can connect to humans in ways no one else can, then what are they really looking for? Elaine smiled faintly. They are observers. They want to know if humans can adapt, if humans can respond to the unknown without complete instructions. And they are learning just as you are learning. They want to see the uniqueness of humanity in action. Marcus nodded, still absorbing her words. So, humans are special. But not because we are strong or smart, just because we think differently, Elaine nodded. Exactly. Humans improvise. Humans solve problems creatively. Humans act with intuition and emotion. And that is something almost no other species can replicate. As he spoke, the lights above the bed shifted, forming new shapes, bright arcs of color that seemed to move in harmony with his thoughts. He realized he could sense the intelligence behind the patterns. It was patient, deliberate, and careful. It did not rush, yet it was intensely aware of him, reading his reactions, adjusting its signals. Marcus focused, trying to project calm, curiosity, and openness, the qualities Elaine had told him the system would recognize. Slowly, he noticed a small change. A shape began to take form, almost like a symbol but pulsing with life. Then another, until a small sequence of symbols hovered above the bed. It's communicating, he whispered. Elaine nodded. Yes, but not with words. With intent, with thought patterns. Humans can sense it because we are adaptable. Other species need rigid communication protocols. You just understand it, Marcus swallowed. What does it want? Elaine shook her head. Not wants, it wants to test, to observe, to learn. And now it wants to interact more directly. This is the next step. The lights intensified, and Marcus felt a subtle vibration in the bed. The interface was activating a deeper level of connection. He realized this was not just passive observation, it was engagement. He took a deep breath and extended his thoughts outward, imagining his world, his memories, his knowledge of human history, engineering, exploration, and creativity. The system responded, forming patterns that mirrored his thoughts, echoing them, expanding on them. It was as if the intelligence itself were experimenting, learning how humans perceive reality. Marcus's excitement grew. Elaine, it's like they're trying to see the world through me. She nodded. Exactly. And this is why humans are invaluable. We don't just interact with the universe, we interpret it. We improvise when instructions are unclear. We act with both logic and emotion. That combination is rare. Marcus's thoughts drifted to his childhood memories, to moments when he had solved problems without guidance, moments when he had faced uncertainty and found solutions through creativity and instinct. He realized these experiences were not random. They were proof of humanity's strength, proof that humans could respond to challenges no other species could manage. As he focused on these memories, the symbols above the bed began to change again. They formed patterns that were almost readable, shapes that suggested ideas rather than words. He felt a new layer of understanding. This intelligence was not simply sending information, it was learning how to learn from humans. It's incredible, Marcus whispered. They're learning from me, from humans. Elaine smiled, a rare look of pride in her eyes. Yes, and that is why your presence here matters. Humanity is not just another species to them. We are an example, a standard. The galaxy watches us, Marcus. And now, through you, it will see what makes humans unique. Marcus leaned back, letting the thought settle. For decades, humans had looked outward, hoping to understand the universe. Now the universe was looking inward, observing the human way of thinking, acting, and feeling. And somehow, Marcus felt honored to be part of it. The interface pulsed again, and the room seemed to hum with energy. Marcus realized the next step was approaching. The intelligence wanted to challenge him, to test humanity's adaptability in real time. Elaine's voice broke the silence. Marcus, it's preparing for a scenario, a simulation, something to see how you react. Don't panic, just act as you would in the real world. Trust your instincts. Marcus nodded. A simulation like virtual reality? Elaine shook her head. No. More than that, it's a controlled test. It will present situations, problems, or challenges, and it will observe how humans respond. Remember, we improvise, we act. That is our strength. Suddenly, the lights above the bed shifted into new patterns. The room seemed to expand, the ceiling dissolving into star-filled space. Marcus felt as if he were no longer in his bedroom, but floating in the universe itself. Holographic figures appeared, abstract shapes representing unknown species, worlds, and systems. Marcus felt a thrill of fear and excitement. "It's beautiful," he whispered. Elaine nodded. "And it's a test. Observe, interact, learn, adapt. Show them what humans can do." Marcus focused on the first figure, a tall, shimmering presence with flowing lines of light. He realized it represented a civilization, one completely unlike anything humans had imagined. The figure seemed to observe him, curious and careful. Without thinking, Marcus extended his thoughts toward it, projecting calm and curiosity. The figure responded, moving in harmony with his projections. Slowly, it mirrored his movements, learning from him. He realized that in this simulation, he was not being tested alone. He was teaching, guiding, and demonstrating what it meant to be human. Elaine's voice was soft but firm. "See, you are not just reacting. You are interpreting, you are creating understanding. This is exactly what makes humans extraordinary." Marcus felt a warmth in his chest. He had always believed that humans could accomplish great things through determination, creativity, and empathy. Now, standing in this simulated universe, he understood that humans were more than capable. They were remarkable, even by alien standards. The simulation shifted again, presenting a more complex scenario. Multiple civilizations appeared, each with different forms of communication, different methods of problem-solving, different rules. Marcus felt the weight of the task. He needed to understand each one, respond appropriately, and find a way for them to coexist, all while projecting human thought patterns clearly. He closed his eyes for a moment, recalling the lessons he had learned as an engineer: analyze, adapt, experiment. Then he opened them and projected these principles, combined with intuition and empathy. Slowly, the alien figures began to respond, coordinating their actions in a way that mirrored his intent. They were learning to trust him, to trust humans. Elaine watched quietly, clearly moved. "Marcus, this is unprecedented. They are not just observing humans, they are following us, adapting to our creativity, our logic, our intuition. Humanity is becoming the standard." Marcus felt a swell of pride. We can help them understand each other." Elaine nodded. "Yes, that is humanity's role. Not conquerors, not rulers, but translators, mediators, bridges between the unknown. And it all starts with curiosity, empathy, and adaptability. That is what you are showing them." The lights pulsed softly, forming a final pattern, a vast network of connections linking all the alien figures and human thought. Marcus realized he had completed the first level of the test. The intelligence had observed him, and now it understood a crucial truth. Humans were not only adaptable, they were uniquely capable of creating understanding where none existed. Marcus leaned back on his bed, exhausted but exhilarated. He had just demonstrated the essence of humanity: courage, adaptability, and creativity in the face of the unknown. He had proved that humans could not only survive, they could thrive, connect, and teach even the most advanced intelligences. Elaine placed a hand gently on his shoulder. "Marcus, you've done more than just engage. You've shown them what humans are capable of, and that will shape how the universe sees us." Marcus smiled, feeling the weight of responsibility and the thrill of possibility. For the first time, he understood that humanity's future was not just about exploration or survival. It was about connection, about building bridges across the stars, about proving that humans were extraordinary not through strength, but through ingenuity, empathy, and courage. The lights above the bed dimmed slightly, returning to their familiar, gentle glow. Marcus knew this was only the beginning. The universe had taken notice of humans, and now it was up to them to show that they could rise to the challenge. He took a deep breath, feeling both pride and anticipation. This was humanity's moment, not as conquerors, but as connectors, as innovators, as a species capable of shaping understanding across worlds. And in that moment, Marcus Hale understood a profound truth. Humans had not only reached for the stars, they had become the standard by which others would measure possibility. Marcus Hale sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the soft, glowing patterns that had returned to their calm rhythm. The last simulation had left him breathless, yet exhilarated. He had seen firsthand how humans could connect with alien intelligences, interpret their intentions, and even teach them cooperation. And now a new reality settled in his mind. The universe was watching and humanity had a choice to make. Elaine Carter, seated across from him, looked serious. "Marcus, what you've done has consequences beyond anything you can imagine," she said. "The intelligence you interacted with is not alone. It is part of a coalition, a network of species that observes and evaluates others before contact. They are now aware of humanity and they want a decision." Marcus frowned. "A decision? About what?" Elaine took a deep breath. "The coalition can offer humanity limited interaction for now, keeping us safe and isolated. Or we can engage fully, becoming active participants in the galactic network. Full integration would bring incredible opportunities, but also risks, exposure, responsibility. Choices that could shape the future of our species." Marcus felt a surge of both fear and excitement. He had never imagined that his actions in a bedroom on Earth could influence the entire species. Yet here he was, carrying the weight of humanity's first step into a broader universe. Elaine continued, her voice soft but firm. "They are asking for guidance. They want to see what humans would choose, and you have been the first point of contact. They will consider your judgment seriously." Marcus leaned back, staring at the ceiling. His mind raced. Limited interaction would keep humans safe, but full engagement, full integration could transform humanity. They could learn, grow, and share knowledge on a scale that no one had dreamed possible. I don't know," Marcus admitted, shaking his head. "It's too much, too many unknowns. What if humans aren't ready?" Elaine shook her head. "Humans are always ready, Marcus. Not because we are perfect, but because we adapt. We improvise. That is what makes us exceptional, and the coalition knows it. That is why they reached out to you." Marcus took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. He thought about the simulations, the way the alien intelligences had responded to human thought and creativity. He thought about his childhood, the curiosity and determination that had driven him to explore, to learn, to fix, to understand. And he realized something important. Humanity had never waited for permission. Humans had always learned by doing, by experimenting, by stepping forward into the unknown. "That's it," he said slowly. "Humans don't grow by waiting. We grow by acting, by engaging, by trying even if we don't know the outcome." Elaine's eyes widened. "You mean you would recommend full engagement?" Marcus nodded. "Yes, carefully, thoughtfully, but fully. Humans can adapt. We can learn. And we can show the universe what we are capable of, not through force, not through power, but through understanding, creativity, and cooperation." Elaine smiled, a mixture of pride and relief in her eyes. "Marcus, that is exactly what they wanted to hear. You understand humanity's strength better than anyone could teach them, and now they will listen." The interface pulsed gently, as if confirming her words. Then, for the first time, a new pattern formed, a symbol that seemed to radiate recognition, approval, and trust. Marcus felt it in his mind, a subtle message from the coalition. We see you, we understand, we accept your guidance. Marcus exhaled slowly, feeling a mixture of awe and responsibility. This was no longer just about simulations or learning exercises. This was about humanity's future. He realized that his own choices, his own presence in this room, had created a path forward for his entire species. Elaine spoke softly. Marcus, you should know. The Coalition doesn't just observe humans, they study our potential. They consider what we could become. And by choosing engagement, you are giving humanity the chance to rise to its potential, not as conquerors, not as rulers, but as mediators, innovators, and connectors across the galaxy. Marcus's mind drifted to the possibilities. Humans could share knowledge, learn from countless civilizations, explore new technologies, and even guide conflicts toward resolution. And all of this could be done without violence, without domination, without fear, just through understanding and action. He looked at the interface again, at the glowing patterns that seemed almost alive. So, this is just the beginning, he said. Elaine nodded. Yes, humanity's role will grow from this point, but remember, the universe will watch every step we take. Every action will matter. Every choice will shape how other civilizations perceive us, and your generation will lead the way. Marcus swallowed, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He had never considered himself a leader. He was an engineer, a son, a human who loved exploration. But now he realized that leadership was not about titles or authority. It was about understanding, insight, and courage. He turned to Elaine. Then we need a plan. We need to prepare humanity carefully. We can't just throw ourselves into the galaxy unprepared. But we can't wait too long either. The Coalition is watching. Elaine nodded again. Exactly. And that is why your role is so critical. You will be the first human to guide them, to show them how we think, how we act, and what we can achieve. The rest of humanity will follow. They will learn from your example. Marcus felt a mixture of pride and apprehension. He had always dreamed of exploring the stars, of meeting new civilizations, of discovering the unknown. But he had never imagined that his actions here in his childhood bedroom would determine humanity's first step into the wider universe. The interface pulsed gently, filling the room with a soft light. Marcus focused, projecting calm, thought, and curiosity. He imagined humanity stepping forward, acting with courage and creativity, learning and growing with every interaction. And he felt the system respond, a subtle acknowledgement that his vision was understood. Elaine placed a hand on his shoulder. Marcus, the Coalition is ready to begin, but they will follow your lead, and they will trust your judgment. You are showing them what it means to be human. Marcus nodded slowly. He felt a surge of determination. Humanity had always faced the unknown with curiosity, creativity, and courage. Now it was time to prove that once again. He would guide the Coalition, showing them that humans were capable of understanding, cooperation, and growth on a scale the universe had never seen before. He looked around his bedroom, once familiar and ordinary, now transformed into the center of a new reality. The bed, the interface, the glowing lights, they were all part of a bridge between worlds. And Marcus knew that the choice he had made, the decision to engage fully, would shape the future of humanity for generations to come. The lights above the bed pulsed brighter, almost as if celebrating the decision. Marcus felt a deep sense of connection, not just to the interface, not just to the alien coalition, but to humanity itself. This was a turning point, a moment that would define the species. Elaine smiled, her eyes reflecting both pride and excitement. Marcus, humanity is ready. And so are you. Marcus took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of fear, anticipation, and exhilaration. He realized that the next steps would not be easy. Full engagement with the galaxy would bring challenges, dilemmas, and uncertainties. But it would also bring growth, knowledge, and the opportunity to shape understanding across worlds. He looked once more at the glowing interface, and thought about all the choices humanity had made, all the curiosity, courage, and creativity that had brought them to this moment. And he knew one thing with certainty: humans were ready, not because they were the strongest or the smartest or the most advanced, but because they could adapt, learn, and act with courage and empathy. That was their greatest strength. And now the universe would see it. Marcus leaned back, closing his eyes for a moment. He felt the pulse of the interface, the subtle recognition of the alien coalition, and the weight of responsibility settle over him. Humanity had chosen engagement. Humanity would take its first true steps into the wider galaxy. And it all began here in a bedroom on Earth, where a young man had come home early and shown the universe what it meant to be human. The lights dimmed slightly, returning to their gentle glow. Marcus knew this was only the beginning. The coalition would follow his guidance, learning from humanity, observing and interacting. But he also knew that humanity's journey was just beginning. Every choice, every action, every interaction would shape the way the universe perceived humans. And Marcus was ready. He had chosen the path of engagement, of understanding, of curiosity and courage. And he would walk it with humanity by his side. The interface pulsed one last time, a quiet acknowledgement of the decision. Marcus Hale smiled, feeling the full weight and wonder of the moment. Humanity was no longer just observing the stars. Humanity was stepping into them. And Marcus knew, with a certainty he had never felt before, that humans were more than ready to meet whatever lay ahead. Marcus Hale sat on the edge of his bed, the familiar warmth of the mattress grounding him even as the interface pulsed gently beneath him. The glowing patterns above had shifted subtly, forming lines and arcs that now seemed like a language he could almost understand. The choice had been made, full engagement, and Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders like a mantle. Humanity had stepped forward and he was the first to guide the way. Elaine Carter stood near the window, watching him with a mixture of pride and quiet anticipation. "Marcus," she said softly, "it's time. The coalition is ready. They will follow your lead now." Marcus nodded, swallowing a mixture of excitement and apprehension. He took a deep breath and let himself focus on the interface. He projected calm, curiosity, and clarity, the qualities that humans had always relied on when facing the unknown. Slowly he felt the interface respond, pulsing more steadily, as if acknowledging that humanity was ready. The bedroom walls seemed to dissolve. Colors, lights, and shapes expanded outward, transforming the room into a vast, star-filled space. Marcus was no longer confined to the physical space of his home. He was suspended in a new reality, a bridge between Earth and the galaxy beyond. Abstract figures began to appear, each representing a different civilization. Some shimmered with soft light, others radiated geometric patterns, and a few seemed almost like living energy. Marcus realized that these were the same intelligences the coalition had observed for decades, civilizations that had been waiting for someone, some species, to act as a bridge. And now, humanity had been chosen. He felt a surge of awe. The enormity of the moment was almost overwhelming, but he also felt a steady undercurrent of confidence. Humanity had always faced the unknown with curiosity, creativity, and courage. And now, Marcus understood that these qualities were exactly what the galaxy needed. Elaine spoke softly. "Marcus, show them how humans think, show them how we act, show them why we are capable of connection and understanding." Marcus nodded. He began to project thoughts, images, and intentions, letting the interface translate his human perspective into patterns the coalition could comprehend. He shared memories of human ingenuity, of teamwork, of empathy, and of the courage that had allowed his species to survive and thrive. He projected moments of invention, of problem-solving, of creating order from chaos. The alien figures responded, moving in harmony with his projections. They were not passive observers. They were learning, adapting, and understanding the unique qualities of humans, Marcus felt a thrill of excitement. Humanity was no longer just being observed. Humanity was being understood, appreciated, and trusted. Suddenly, the interface pulsed more strongly. A new set of shapes emerged, forming a network that connected the alien figures with Marcus and, through him, with Earth. He realized that this was a message, a symbol of recognition, acceptance, and cooperation. The coalition was inviting humanity to step fully into the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as connectors, innovators, and mediators. Marcus took a deep breath, projecting a feeling of reassurance and calm. He wanted the coalition to know that humans were ready, but also cautious. He wanted them to understand that humanity's strength lay not in domination or power, but in creativity, empathy, and adaptability. Elaine watched closely, her eyes reflecting both pride and amazement. "Marcus, you're doing it. You're showing them what humans are capable of." Marcus smiled faintly. "I hope they understand," he said. "I hope they see that humans don't just survive, we learn, adapt, and connect. That's our strength." The lights above the bed shifted, forming a new symbol, a circle of light that radiated outward, connecting Earth to the galaxy. Marcus felt it in his mind, a subtle acknowledgement from the coalition that humanity had been accepted. Humans were now part of a larger network, a community of intelligent civilizations working together. He leaned back on the bed, letting the realization sink in. Humanity had made its choice, and it was a choice of curiosity, courage, and cooperation. The universe would never see humans the same way again. As he watched, new simulations appeared, scenarios designed to test communication, problem-solving, and collaboration with alien species. But this time, Marcus understood that these were not tests in the traditional sense. They were opportunities for humanity to demonstrate its unique strengths, to guide and connect other civilizations, and to learn in return. He began to interact with the simulations, projecting creative solutions and collaborative approaches. The alien figures responded positively, adjusting their behavior to match the patterns of human thought. Marcus felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Humans were not just surviving in the galaxy, they were shaping it through understanding, ingenuity, and empathy. Elaine approached him, placing a hand gently on his shoulder. "Marcus, humanity has taken its first true step into the galaxy, and you have led the way." Marcus nodded, feeling the full weight and joy of her words. "It's incredible," he said. "I never imagined that coming home early would lead to this." Elaine smiled. "Sometimes the smallest actions have the greatest impact. You acted without knowing the outcome, and that is exactly what humans do best. Curiosity, courage, and adaptability, that is what the galaxy will remember." Marcus looked around at the glowing patterns, the alien figures, and the network that connected them all. He realized that humanity's role was not to dominate or control, but to connect, mediate, and learn. Humans would become translators of ideas, builders of understanding, and creators of solutions in a universe filled with diversity and complexity. He felt a sudden surge of inspiration. "Elaine, we can help other civilizations communicate with each other. We can help them understand differences, solve conflicts, and work together. Humans are good at that." Elaine nodded. "Yes, that is why they chose us. Humans are not perfect, but we are adaptable. We think creatively, we learn quickly, and we can bridge gaps that others cannot. And you have shown them that." The interface pulsed one last time, forming a large, radiant symbol that encompassed Earth and reached outward to the coalition. Marcus felt a sense of completion, as if the universe itself was acknowledging humanity's presence. He leaned back, exhausted but exhilarated. The room returned to its familiar form, though the soft glow of the interface remained. His bed, once ordinary, had become a gateway to the stars. His childhood bedroom had transformed into a center of interstellar connection. Elaine sat beside him, her eyes reflecting the wonder of the moment. "Marcus, the universe has taken notice. Humanity has stepped forward, and this is only the beginning." Marcus nodded slowly. He felt a profound sense of pride, not in himself, but in humanity. Humans had always faced the unknown with courage, creativity, and determination. And now, the universe would see that truth for itself. He looked around the room at the objects that had always felt ordinary, the desk, the posters, the familiar shelves, and realized they were all part of a larger story. Every choice, every moment of curiosity, every act of courage had led humanity to this point. The interface pulsed gently as if acknowledging his thoughts. Marcus smiled. He had come home early, acted without knowing the outcome, and in doing so had opened a door for all of humanity. Elaine spoke softly. "Marcus, this is a moment you will never forget. But more importantly, it is a moment humanity will never forget. We have become part of something larger than ourselves." Marcus leaned back, letting the words sink in. He felt a deep connection to humanity, to the galaxy, and to the possibilities that lay ahead. The universe was vast, complex, and full of wonder. And now humans had a role to play, not as conquerors, not as rulers, not as passive observers, but as connectors, innovators, and learners. Humans had proven that their greatest strength lay in their adaptability, creativity, and courage. And Marcus knew, with certainty, that humanity would rise to the challenge. The galaxy would see what humans were capable of, not through weapons, not through power, but through understanding, cooperation, and action. He closed his eyes, feeling the soft pulse of the interface beneath him. The stars outside his bedroom window seemed brighter, more alive, as if acknowledging the first step humanity had taken. And for the first time, Marcus understood the full significance of coming home early. It had changed everything. Marcus Hale smiled, knowing that humanity had not only reached for the stars, it had become a part of them. The interface glowed softly one last time before dimming, leaving his room ordinary once more. But Marcus knew that the universe would never see Earth the same way again. Humanity had stepped forward and the stars would never forget it. And as he lay back on his bed, a quiet satisfaction filled him. The galaxy was vast, the unknown stretched endlessly before humanity, and yet, for the first time, Marcus felt truly ready. Humanity was ready. And it had all started in a bedroom on Earth, with a young man who came home early and changed the stars.